Welcome back to That Dad Guy. It's March 27th, 2023, and today we are going to talk about what was in this letter. So this letter came from Hans in Germany, and first of all, look at this stamp. I love the mailbox stamp. But if you look over here, this is a first day issue of a brand new stamp that he's put on here. We've got all the outlying area to it. We've got the beautiful first day issue cancellation on there as well. So thank you so much, Hans, for that. I thought that was going to be the special treat. You know, I got fixated by the mailbox stamp at first, and then I saw this, and I was like, wow, that looks ever cool. And for it to be a first day issue, then that means I'm going to save the envelope. That's what it's going to be. But inside the envelope, there was a letter. And in that letter, there were some stamps. And so we're going to talk a little bit about those stamps. Now, if you've been watching these videos in the past, you will have seen Hans send me beautiful German stamps with nice cancellations on them. And I debated, you know, what do I do? Do I soak these stamps off and have the stamps and put them in the collection? Or do I save them and have the cancellations? So far I've saved them all. I haven't done any. I haven't taken the paper off any of them. I haven't destroyed any cancellations. There's so many people out there. So those cancellations are beautiful. Don't touch them. So I haven't. But he said he wanted to mix it up. In the letter, he said he wanted to do something a little different this time and not send German stamps. So I'm going to ask you a question before I give you the answer. What country or what postal agency issue stamps in 3 different currencies? They're the only postal agency to issue stamps in 3 different currencies. Do you know? I'm sure there's a lot of philatelists out there that this is a super easy question, and we know that exactly. I can tell you the postal agency was formed in 1950, if that gives you a hint of what's going on. I can tell you that the currencies in 1950 were, well, no, I'm going to do the currencies now. The currencies now that they're issued in are in the US dollars, the Swiss francs, and the euro. And they were in sterling before. Do you know yet? But in 3 different countries, right? So, all right, New York, Geneva, and Vienna. Those are the 3 different areas that the postal agency issues stamps, and they issue stamps individually in those countries from those cities, and it's the United Nations Postal Association that was formed in 1950. So after the Second World War, they got together in 1947. United Nations was created, and in 1950 they started a postal agency. So only the stamps from those countries, only the stamps from the United Nations can be mailed from the United Nations in those cities. And inside said envelope were a selection of United Nations stamps from Vienna. So I want to show you what he sent. Hopefully it's a little bit different, a little bit more interesting than something else you've seen lately. This actually was great because I don't think there's any stamps in my father's collection from United Nations in any of those cities. I thought at first that there probably was a few from the United Nations in New York, because my brother-in-law's brother works for the United Nations, or has been working out of the United Nations. He was in New York for a while. He's been an ambassador and envoy with Canada. So he's gotten some work there. And I thought at one point in time he brought some stamps back from New York from the United Nations, but I can't seem to find them. So if they are, I'm not sure where my father put them in the collection or whether he stuck them away somewhere else. So I still have to see if I can locate them. But for now, this may be the only collection of United Nations stamps I have. So let me show you what he sent. We're going to get zoomed right in here. You can see the word Nationen, so United Nations, and maybe that stamp. That's a little bit better cancellation there. You can see the date. You can see clearly that it's from Vienna. This one here, the 2 children looking at the reflection. You can also see that it's euros here on the price of the stamp. I really like this one here with the art, the head that's there and the cape that's floating up, or the clothing that's floating up there. I kick the chair. Great thing about United Nations stamps too is they cover a lot of different topics. Look at that cancellation. That's a beautiful cancellation with the UN. We've got the UN symbol there on it. Some Italian art. So it's nice to learn, do a little bit more research on different things. I watch Snail Mail with Smokey. He does a lot of philately as well. He's been showing some micro countries. That's one of his collections. So it's nice to see that. Here you can see the United Nations Postal Association. So in 2000, these stamps would have been issued when they turned 50. Beautiful cancellation on there as well. Looks like an aqueduct. This stamp I actually have twice now because he had one that was with another one on a piece of paper. Now, is that what the United Nations building looks like in Vienna? Someone let me know. And there you can see the United Nations flag. Beautiful temple. Another reason to go to Japan. The Doves of Peace, the United Nations, the globe. Let me see if I pull back on it. It's great getting a chance to learn a little bit of new things. So when it comes to philately, there are a ton of different things to learn, and you guys providing me with new content gives me time to research and try to get something maybe a little bit interesting that you guys might be curious about. I'll have to show you. This stamp here is my favorite of the stamps that came. Beautiful Japanese temple. I do like the big United Nations flag though as well. And then the cancellations on these two particular envelopes are amazing. So like I said, I didn't really know a lot about the United Nations Postal Agency until this envelope arrived, and I thought, well, I better do a little bit of research about it. And when I mean a little bit, I mean a little bit, because there is a lot more that could be said and talked about with this, and maybe I'll get a chance to go down that storyline a little bit more. If I've got more to show, then I'll try to dig up some more information. But yeah, like I know you can go and individually talk about each one of these stamps, what it meant, why it was issued, when it was issued. I talk about Snail Mail with Smokey when he does his stamps. He's very good at that. He'll pop up the image here next to you so you can see a real big close-up one of it, and tell you when it came out, the value that's on it, and maybe a little bit about the history of it. I do things a little bit more broad because my knowledge base isn't as great as his or many of the other great YouTubers that are talking about philately and the hobby. So hopefully you like what I've got. Maybe it gives you an inspiration to say, you know what, I've got some of those stamps, or I've got stamps from that country or from that agency, and maybe I want a few more, and so I'm going to go on eBay and look for those. Maybe it'll give you that inspiration. And that's all I'm really here for, is to say, you know what, Hans was fantastic. He sent me this first day issue, and inside the envelope he sent me these United Nations stamps, and I didn't have them, and I didn't know much about them, so I got a chance to do a little bit of research, so I was happy for that, and hopefully you enjoy it too. And that's all that I really want to do, is share what's going on here, and the more you guys participate, the more I can share, and it makes the community even better. So I'm glad to be able to do that with all the different hobbies that I try to cover, all the different travels that I try to take you guys on, and experiences that happen in the city, in the province, in my country, and whatever my family gets up to. Usually you guys come along for the ride. All right, well, have a magical week. What, Polo? You say. like, subscribe, share, and tell all your friends.
Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy?